Welcome to the T Row Show. This is your host, Keith. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that this is the 11th or 12th. I will figure it out. I should have had that when I came on. Sorry. Okay, it's the 12th. Okay, this will be the 12th T Row Show, second half, number 12. All right, here we go. We're going to talk a little bit about the border. There's a couple of alarms coming up. I'm all for closing the border. I have no issues with that. I am not a liberal, nor am I involved with Soros or anybody else at all. I don't agree with all that jazz. But I do see some traps coming up that are tricking a lot of people. In other words, they're deceiving people, and I hate to see that. Even though I've been called every name in the book, but what I want you to see is this: you've got a border that has been. Hold on one second. Okay, just going to share this right here. Abbott announces a military base at border. Okay, so he's saying that we have to have this. We got to have a military base. All right, now here's my question. What took them? Why did it take them 3 years, or even 1 year or two, when the Republicans got majority in the House and all that? I think they're there in the Senate too. What took them so long to start talking about this border thing? Why did they take so long? That's my question about this. Why do this? It's too late now. You've got to go through the whole country and just deport whatever you can, and that's going to be a nightmare. That's going to mean that people are going to have to give up what? Their privacy. They can go door to door, start trying to find illegals. I can see that scenario coming, especially with ICE and everything else, especially with Trump. I know he's trying to do well. He's appeared as if he's trying to do something for the country. I just don't know what, because I can't understand why Trump, and Alex Jones fell for January 6th. We tried to tell everybody, do not go. You're in way over your heads. They got you 10 steps ahead of you. And I'm going to show you some more 10 steps. Okay. Now, Abbott is going to announce his military base at border. Well, folks, I used to patrol the East-West German border, kind of let you know my age. Okay. I used to patrol that when I was 18. Now, if you don't know what that is, folks, I know this another generation doesn't know. East and West Germany was not always one Germany. It was split in two after World War II. And on a side note, I now understand why Russia is a enemy, so-called enemy, why they're doing this. I thought that was interesting. I'll tell you that in a minute. Okay, now East Germany had like fences all the way back, and there was one. This is what I found out later, because I went over there to do a wallpaper job and painting job, and I ended up going to back. I went to England for that. Then I went to Germany to see it after the border wall had come down. I actually got to go into some of the towers that I used to spy on all the time when I patrolled the border. Um, they had military bases. Okay, so in order to get out of East Germany, you had to get through three checkpoints. One was 150 miles back. You had to get through past that. Then there was 150 miles, okay, or 100 miles, and then 50 miles, and then there was the main border. And there was a colonel that was there who actually got a ladder. He was right there at the border, and he knew where the guards were going to be. Now, listen to what I'm saying. The guards are going to be. And what he did was he got him and his family. He put a ladder. He built a ladder, put it up on the fence, and all of them just went all the way over and got into West Germany, where there was so-called freedom. Okay. Here's the issue. You're putting a military base down there on the border. Now, what I want you guys to watch out for, and this is very specific, watch out for towers. When he starts doing towers every 50 miles or maybe 20 miles, or however long they can see to patrol that border, that's when you are not being protected from the outside. You are being disallowed leaving from the inside. So it is really starting to look like that is coming up. Okay, when he's doing a military base at border, full news conference, the whole thing, and he's going to justify it. Right now, it sounds like it's justifiable. Yes, it's a good idea, and everybody's going to go for it. But remember, you're fencing yourself in. It's not to keep them out; it's to fence you in. If the towers go up, when the towers go up, that's your sign. Right there. You won't be able to get out of the southern border. And then later on, and when people start flooding out of the northern border to get away from the communism, they'll start doing that, and the Coast Guard will protect all the coasts. You will not be able to leave. Unless you have what? You have a chip so they can track you, or you have a social credit score. You're able to have clearance going from one country to another. And you have to do that with a so-called government that's being put in place. Okay, the social score is the most important part. There's a lot of violence being allowed. You got to watch this too. That's Governor Abbott. Hold on one second. Now this is an interesting one here. I was watching for a while. Okay. And this is San Francisco. He investigated the city that pays you to do drugs. Okay, this is by Tyler Oliveira. He's got a lot of followers. He's got 3 million views on this. It's done 5 days ago. Okay. Now I want to just show you just a little bit of it.
This is San Francisco, the city that pays drug addicts to use drugs?
I mean, if we're gonna be realistic, they pay you to be homeless here. I get $620 a month, dude. This right now is literally by choice.
How many times have you died?
About 40 times last year.
Almost a handful of times. I've died on my feet, standing in one spot. I met this chick right out here. She's pretty cute, yeah. That's the night that she shot me with fentanyl. I don't do fentanyl at all.
She forcibly injected fentanyl in. With record high overdose deaths in 2023.
Okay, think about that. Why would she forcefully put fentanyl in someone? Unless she's working for the drug dealers to get drugs. So what they're doing is they're saying, okay, if you go out and put fentanyl on this guy or anybody, a couple of people, we'll give you free drugs. That's how drug dealers do it. Okay. There's some southern. You're welcome to go watch this. I investigated the city that pays you to do drugs. I was looking at this and I watched the whole thing. It's only about 34 minutes long. And something hit me that was very interesting. He ended up talking about a guy that has the ability to stop this, but the guy does not stop it. Okay. So I started thinking about it.
Never experienced it.
I used to be one of the persons growing up that always said, "F police, F the police." I grew up saying that. I don't
Look at the
believe
cops
that
sitting there. No,
I
nothing.
really like this police station and these polices. It's just that their hands are tied right now. They want to come out here and move this. Trust me, they get disgusted when they walk outside and they see this. Disgusted that they can't help them the way that they want to help them because the board of supervisors and the police commission say, no, leave them alone. You see?
Okay, y'all see that? Okay, here's the, I want you to watch this. Hold on 1 second.
When they walk outside and they see this, disgusted that they can't help them the way that they want to help them because the border.
Right there, see that? Okay. All these men and women have the ability to stop this, and they're telling the police don't stop it. Okay? See these guys?
Supervisors and the police.
These people right here, they're all sitting there just letting it happen. That's where you get to step in a pile of poop on the way, if you live there, you know, on the way to work or wherever you're trying to go. And you get to smell all that kind of stuff. All right, now why are they allowing this? Why would they do that? It's not because they suck at being Democrats. That's not it at all. Okay, I've did a lot of investigation a long time ago about this too. And what I'm seeing is they're allowing the violence because they're all involved in getting paid. They have joined the drug dealers. They're all making money at it, every single one of them. That's why they're saying, "Oh, no, 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 leave them alone." It's because they have been taken over by the drug cartels. They get into the job, okay, you're going to join us or you die. Simple. And they get in there, and all these people get a paycheck from this. That's why they're letting these people go. That's why New York is allowing these gangs to do what they're doing. Those gangs are working for, they're getting paid by them, the gangs. That's why they just let them go when they beat up the cop. And then they flip everybody off. I work here, man. What are you talking about? I work for the judge and the prosecutor and all that. That's what they're saying. I remember one time I was doing a job in Louisville, Kentucky. I was at a restaurant, and I think it was a Big Boys. Well, I was doing the front part that when you walk in, it had like a mudroom type entrance where you could walk in, and then you close the door, it's warmed up, and then you go into the restaurant. And I was redoing that with wallpaper and paint, and the paint was wet. That's the reason why I'm telling you what I was doing there. It's pertinent to the story. Okay, and this guy comes walking out, and he was going home, and I said, "Watch it. That's a really nice jacket. I don't want you to hit the paint." I said, "I don't know if I could afford it." And he says, "Well, I can get about 10 of these, man." I said, "This is just my front job. That's all it is." I said, "Really?" He says, "Yeah, I just come here and wash dishes, and that's it." But this jacket was really expensive. And I said, "So, what do you do?" And he says, "Well, I run drugs downtown in Louisville." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." And I said, "You're not worried about that?" And he goes, "No, no." He says, "All the judges and prosecutors are involved in it. Every one of them. They're involved in the drug trade." So what's happened is this. Since the CIA gets funded by drug running, they have been for years. That's how they have always made their money. That's why they didn't want Trump in there, because Trump was stopping it. Okay. I'm not saying that Trump was a great man. Not saying that at all. Not even a part of it. Don't even care. I don't even vote. Okay. So it doesn't matter to me who's there. Because whoever's in that office, it's the people behind it. Listen to what Putin said. It's the people that have been there forever that actually run everything. So I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." He says, "Man, those guys are sick." He said, they run sex parties and all kinds of crap downtown. It's crazy." So there's your judicial system there. Well, the same thing's happening here. Here's your judicial system. The commissioner and consultant, all those guys are a part of the San Francisco police commissioners. They're a part of the problem. All of them have become a drug cartel. The same as the Democratic Party and most of the Republicans. I don't know if they're all involved. Some of them look pretty decent, but if they do, man, they put on a great show. Okay, starting to put out this truth and try to destroy it and everything else. trying to throw out this southern border thing. Watch the towers. If you do that, you're being blocked in. They're not being blocked out. I've lived it. I lived it for 2 years. I know exactly what it's like and what they do. Okay, and I know what kind of freedoms are there, which is none. You'll have a man in a tower right over a school. And those kids, when they go out and play, they got a guy with it was a Uzi at the time. He would just be sitting there watching them, making sure nobody escapes. Don't do that. That's back in Germany. But over here, these guys have created that at least one of the parties have become full drug cartel. At least one that I can see. Okay, full drug cartel, which means they have become the cartel from South America. There is so much money in it, in the drugs, because people like to do this, like to get high all the time. There's so much money in it that they all just said, you know what? Screw this. People just, you try to take care of them and then they don't want to listen to you. And you're always a pain in the butt and everything else. This is why they ignore what's going on in the internal or the interior of the country. They don't care. They're in there making their drug money. So he said, this is what the guy said when I was in the restaurant. He said, yeah, he said, all they do is they arrest me about every 6 weeks or so. I deliver the money that I've made, their cut. I end up with the drugs back that I had on me, and then I got dismissed through a technicality. That's it. He stays in jail for about a week, gets 3 hots and a cot, and then he comes back out and he goes back to work. Some of them do that daily, like they get a work program, where they just go and sell them and come back to jail. That's how it works. Okay. Then on the other hand, they have the inmates will work for the farms, stuff like that. Well, that was getting too much heat. So they decided, well, let's bring some voters up. And this is why Pelosi came out and said, why aren't these people down in Florida? You need to take them out of New York and put them in Florida, where they're supposed to pick oranges. That was where they were supposed to go, because she's got a lot of orange investments. I've talked about this in the past couple of weeks. Okay. But this is really setting things up for the chip. And, everybody knows about the chip that's supposed to be in your hand. First, the social credit score. Because think about it, guys. Why would you allow some guy just to run into the store and take a bunch of stuff off there and not even arrest him? Why would you do that? Unless you were setting it up to where, okay, we're going to have to put these things in glass, our stuff in glass. And they're doing that. Okay, I'm sure people have seen it. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, here's one. All right, right there. See all the products? All the products in glass. It's going to be a little fuzzy and everything. These are smaller pictures. Okay, that's a store. Right there. That's San Francisco right there. That's a store. And so what they're trying to get done is get people to get used to being treated like this. For instance, let me give an example. I had a lady, or it was on, I think it was on television. There was a lady there that was in a, what's the point? Hold on one second. I'm trying to do 2 things at once. You know how it is for men. All right. There we go. She had never shopped in a Target in her entire life. She was used to Beverly Hills. And they were doing a program on it, getting her reactions and stuff like this, which taught me quite a bit. I was interested in how they were actually, how they interacted. And she said, and I never thought about this before. She walks in and there's metal detectors. She goes, "Why is there metal detectors? I don't understand what this is." They said, "Well, it's if you're bringing any weapons in." She said, Why would they do that? That doesn't sound right." And then she kept moving along, and she was going to try some of the clothes, and she was looking at the clothes and saying, "Wow, this is amazing. These are great clothes. I cannot, I can't understand why they're so cheap," because she's used to buying like $5,000 dresses. Okay, this is in L.A. Saks Fifth Avenue and that kind of stuff that she's used to. So she walks in, she goes, "Why did they give me a number?" She asked that question. Well, folks, we've gotten used to that. You have to get a number. Okay. You haven't stolen a thing. You haven't even thought of stealing anything. And you have to get a number. And as far as I can remember back in the day, that because a couple of people start ripping clothes off, that everybody's got to get a number for how many garments you have. Like if you have 5 pair of pants you're going to try on, you need a number 5. So when you come out, you got to come up with a number 5 in the jeans. Otherwise, you're stealing them. And that's the way it works. And then you've got everything marked in the store, which is the magnetic things that go through the to get out of the door. You have to have all that stuff done and show proof that you bought something. Now they're asking people on the way out, "Can I see your receipt, please?" I'm thinking, why? If I hadn't bought something, if it wasn't paid for, how would I have a receipt sitting there in my hand? Unless they're getting you used to that. "Oh, yeah, well, go ahead. I'll prove my honesty, that I didn't steal anything." And now you've been looking at this picture for a while, and these are all soap, shampoos, all this stuff that they have locked up. Because why? Because they have a group of kids going in there and stealing a bunch of stuff and just taking off right out the door. So the stores are not wanting to stay in New York anymore. So they're going to need more security. Gee, the more violence, the more security you need. The more violence, the more security you need. Eventually, it's going to be the social credit score on the phone, or you're not going to be able to get in there and get those doors open in order to get shampoo. You're going to have to start making your own some way or somehow. Sarah was talking to me about these people in China. There was a lady in China couldn't buy anything because her social credit score wasn't high enough. So she wasn't even in the system. They just took her out. They completely erased her from the system. She couldn't buy anything at all. Literally has to get her friends and her family to get, gift cards and stuff like that. And it's still difficult for her to get any because of the state. So what the cartels are doing is you would think that they want less control. As a matter of fact, they want more control. That's what cartels do. Drug cartels want more control over governments that you'll listen to. They'll come out and they'll get control of that country's government, just like they have Mexico. Mexico's slaves, man, all of them. Even the president's a slave. They're a slave to these drug cartels. And they just get paid off. And it's just a vicious cycle over and over and over. And that is here now. In San Francisco, they had a group of kids that go around, and they're the ones that deliver drugs, and they make sure they're watchers for the territory and all that kind of stuff. Okay? So that is happening through the city council and all that. That's because why? Because they are responsible for the amount of fentanyl that gets into San Francisco. They have to keep track of the product and where it goes. Just like doing inventory. It's run just like a regular retail store. Got to get your product in. They get their product in. They go in there and have it counted by the the dealers. They have control, so they go ahead and make their report to the cop that comes in, and then they have to have how many pills it was, everything else, who the pills were distributed to, the men that are doing it, and then how are they getting more and more people to get on fentanyl. Well, they have a lady there that goes in and just starts sticking them with the fentanyl and throws in and pumps it in their blood, so they get addicted. Then she gets free fentanyl, and it's killing everybody. It's completely destroying everything. This thing has gone down so far that, guess what? Oh, you know what's going to be a really good idea? Is first of all, that if they chip you, that way you're trusted, and then you get to go into the 15-minute cities because the crime is so bad. And that's where they have what they call order out of chaos. Now, I understand what they're trying to do, and I applaud them for it. But they're going to fall for it just like they did last time. Or I'm talking about the Republicans that are trying to stop this, especially in Texas. They're going to fall for it, and they're not going to listen, just like they did last time. We told them before it happened, about 5 years before it started happening, that police officers were going to begin to be killed, murdered, over and over. And nobody's going to want to be a cop after this. Well, that's what we got right now. That's what's happening right now. Because we knew the plan. We knew what they were doing. You could see it. It's plain as day. Now we're showing you the other plan. They're going to start chipping people. When you go into the cities, it'll be a chip. Okay? So if you want to get away from that, you have got to start, first of all, get out of those cities. And second, you have got to start growing your own food and understanding all this. Start working towards this. You still have a very short period of time, but you have some time. A year or two, that's what you've got. To get off your butt and start learning how to raise your food and, hunt and that kind of thing. Trade for beef, whatever you got. You only have about that much time because these guys are not going to stop this violence. I'm going to be very surprised. Got two things that I'm thinking is what's going on. Most people have not seen this, okay? They're sitting there watching and they're not doing anything about it. And that's when I know that these guys have got you. The drug cartels, the Democratic Party drug cartel, has got you so bamboozled and so confused, you're not thinking right. You're not thinking straight in any way, shape, or form. Folks, watch what they're doing to Trump. Look at what they're doing to that man. Now, I'm setting it all aside. I'm not pleading for him in any way. Okay? I'm just looking at it from a matter-of-fact point of view. Let's set all the politics aside. The guys, as far as personal opinions of them, let's set that aside. You know what you're looking at? You're watching the judicial branch. I call it the judiciary because that's what they turned it into when the lawyers took over from the Rothschilds that work for the Rothschilds over in London. Not London, England, just London. It's its own country. For the tripartite, if you haven't heard about that. Okay? These guys have been sitting there torturing them. That's what they're doing. In front of billions of people. And not one person is saying a word about it. What they're doing is, okay, there was a show I was watching last night. He was going over all of the 93 felonies that Trump is being charged with. He says not a one of them apply to what they're actually saying. They go through the judgment of $350 million against him, which we could reverse that anytime if we wanted to. Okay, I'm going to talk to our our assembly on Wednesday, to see if we can't go ahead and get that thing removed and have them stop this stuff as to what they're doing. I might even see if we might be able to help Alex Jones. I'm not going to tell you how we're going to do it, okay? And it's not going to be anything violent. But I know how these guys operate, and I know how to twist their crap around, especially in their judiciaries. Now, what I'm going to tell you is they're torturing him legally, torturing him. They're bringing up, okay, none of the 93 felonies apply. Then you look at the judgment, and the judgment was based on his Mar-a-Lago thing, and said it was $18 million, and Trump came out and said that it was worth $300 million. Okay, $300 million. They said, oh, the amount of the value of Mar-a-Lago, whatever they want to call it, was overvalued. So they committed loan fraud. Well, the banks weren't upset. Insurance companies were not upset. Nobody was upset. They just made this up. There was no trial. There was no nothing. The judge says, well, we determined that you're guilty, so we're going to sentencing phase. Literally is what they've done. And yeah, Mar-a-Lago is worth 300 million. As a matter of fact, I think it's worth 1.2 billion, because there was a lot over on the west coast of West Palm Beach, a lot just sitting there, and that's worth they're asking $150 million for it, with no buildings on it whatsoever. Well, everybody's seen Mar-a-Lago; it's huge, an enormous place. Yes, it's worth 300 million, if not way more than that. So he's saying that he committed the fraud and then had no remorse for it. Well, that's a setup to say, I'm lying because you're not reacting to it, and you have no remorse for what you're being charged, or what you've done. That's the most manipulative thing I've ever seen. It's a very sick man that wrote that. Okay. And if anybody knows me, I cannot stand corrupt people that have been in office, or they're sitting there as judges and everything else, and they're doing what they're doing based on their own personal political opinion. So my guess is this: all these people doing this belong to the drug cartels. This lady that has got him for $83 million for some kind of sexual thing, or a sexual assault, or whatever it was. Guys, go take a look at her. And you go and you think of a billionaire, and if he can have any woman he wants, go take a look at her and see if you believe her that Trump sexually assaulted her. Think about it. That's all I'm going to say about that. Okay? So you're being set up for chipping, social credit score, because they're allowing the violence to happen. At the same time, they're torturing anybody that's trying to stop it. It's exactly what's happening. It's a little late to start protecting the border. Glad you're doing it. A little late. This should have been done 2 years ago. That should have been done when Biden went up and got rid of all the executive orders to control that border. And you knew he was doing it, and you sat and watched that man do it for 3 years. And you did nothing about it, other than, well, let's have some committee hearings and talk about it. Let's talk to some guy that created a pandemic out of thin air and lied to Congress about it. Oh my God, you mean he did that and made millions? Gee. Okay. And then start, looking at everything else that's been going on. And he sat there and watched this border go on and on and on. People coming across the border, on and on and on. And I think we got involved with a group for about 24 hours until we figured out that they were capturing the illegals, and they were going over and giving them over to Border Patrol. It's like you just handed them over to the traffickers. Oh, by the way, Border Patrol traffickers. They traffic children. That's what they do. They traffic children and they traffic drugs. You don't have one border guard there. It is not involved in that. How do I know? Because they sat there and let them through. They knew, regardless of their so-called executive orders, there were plenty of laws in there to close that border. There are plenty of laws that they had in place to deport these people, but the Border Patrol let them in. Hey, come on in. Yeah, where's my money? Give me some money. So they were making thousands and millions too, right along with the cartels on the Mexican side. They try to portray it like they're making all the money and nobody over here is making any money. Okay? There's no difference between the people that are trafficking these people in going over the border and a federal. They're both the same. You look at a Border Patrol guy, okay? He's the guy that looks at the people across the way there, and they come in and drop these people off out of a van and they go right across the border. Then he receives them and says, okay, we're going to process you through. No different. They're getting paid over and above what they normally get paid anyways. That's why they're doing it. So you're getting hit by all sides right now. And that's why people are starting to freak out. They're starting to get a little nervous. They're getting quiet and all that because they don't know what's going on. You're being manipulated on a grand scale. Okay? They made you believe that it was end times, that that the Jews, the chosen people, were going back to Israel. Made you believe that. And you fell for it. We proved that in one of the shows, just like that, in 1 hour, proved the whole thing. Go listen to the T-Row show. Can't remember which one it was, but go listen to that one. Okay? And don't think, okay? Now, how do you know this key? All right. Queen of England has been running poppy seeds for years in Afghanistan. Been running heroin. Been doing it for years. That England has been doing that for millennia. They've been doing it forever. Okay? Afghanistan, it's the reason why they keep getting invaded is because they grow poppy seeds. And I think it was heroin and oh, there's another one that they use when they're putting people out of pain. Either way, they've been doing that for years, and they've been partnering with the U.S. for years on doing that. So that's how the CIA has been funded, through Afghanistan. Now they're getting funded through fentanyl, cocaine, and everything else. They've gotten a little bigger now. And they'll be quiet because if they're not, then it starts looking, well, we'll give them, we're going to give them validity if we start saying stuff about it, trying to stop them from saying it. That's what they'll do. But as long as you're not interfering, this is how cold that business is. If you're not interfering with the delivery, the product, and the drug, the dealers, and all that, if you're not interfering with that, they don't care. What are you going to do? Try to stop it? You're going to fight them with? Are you going to fight with their M60s and all that? I mean, seriously, are you going to win? No. So they don't really care. Okay. So I just wanted to warn you to get rid of a little bit of this this facade that you're believing in. All I'm telling you, folks, there's only one man that can help you, and you're going to say I'm crazy, but I don't care. That man's Yeshua, Jesus. He's the only one that's going to be able to save you from all this. Okay, he's the only one that will protect you and has your best interest at heart. Okay. They're torturing Trump right now. That they're trying to give him a heart attack. They're trying to screw with him. Okay, that's what's going on. They're basically torturing an old man. They have no problem putting a dementia patient up there in front of everybody and have him embarrass himself all day. They don't care about that. That's how cold-hearted these people are. They have no mercy whatsoever. They want what they want when they want it. There's no mercy, nothing but cold-hearted, stony hearts that only care about themselves, if they care at all. All right. So just wanted to let you know this. What we've been seeing when I've been looking at all this stuff, when they start the social score and the chipping, okay, that's when you'll have to go through a vetting process to see if you're worthy of getting a chip to be able to shop in their stores. And they'll be able to come get you if the cartels ever get you. So they're going to keep all this in place as long as they can. They're going to keep all the drug dealing and everything else in place. And I don't know if the police are just dumb or they don't see it or what, but they're like, hey, they just let them out. Well, yeah, you got your prosecutors involved with them. That's their boss up in New York. And it goes all the way up to the attorney generals and them governors and all that. It goes all the way up. And when you got you've got to let it fall, because when it's entrenched that bad in a society, there's no helping that society. You unless the people come together and form some kind of militia or something to get rid of these, go through each town. But the odds of that happening and not getting killed off by a much larger military that the cartels run, So you got to just sit there and, okay, well, let's go in another part of the world here. Let's go ahead and take off. Get out of here while we can. That's usually what happens. Okay, so this is the time for you to hear this. It's the time for you to start planning on what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. To either get out of the way here or form neighborhood assemblies and stuff like that to start protecting yourselves. They've got a media. It's only owned by 6 people, and all those guys are drug cartels. A lot of money in drugs, a lot of money in prostitution, a lot of money in stealing, a lot of money in everything. So just wanted to let you know what was happening, and I appreciate you coming to the show, and I will see you folks next week.